All right, everyone. I wanted to let you all know that we are going to re release our favorite episodes from 2024 to give ourselves a little bit of a break from recording. I really appreciate everyone that listens and subscribes and shares and tunes in every single Saturday for the last 3 years. We'll be back in a couple of months with new interviews and new information and new resources for all of you awesome entrepreneurs out there. Make sure to stay up to date. Follow me on Instagram, Patrick.Casale, and all things private practice. Doubt yourself, do it anyway. Hey everyone, you are listening to another episode of the All Things Private Practice podcast. I'm your host, Patrick.Casale. I'm joined by Sandtrice Russell today. Some of you may know her as Tree the LPC on social media. Also the host, what's the podcast called again?
Self-aware and fucked up.
I knew it was something fucked up, and I was like, ooh, I just lost the other part of it in my head. Self-aware and fucked up, which I was a guest on a couple of weeks ago. And an LPC, private practice owner, motivational speaker, and really, really cool human being. And if you're not following her already, I really suggest that. But really happy to have you on here today and have this conversation. And I think we're going to kind of start off with tell us a little bit about yourself and why you're here and kind of a little bit about your journey along the way.
Gotcha. Definitely happy to do that. So, as you said, Patrick, my name is Sandtrice Russell. I am a licensed professional counselor in the state of Georgia. However, my journey towards counseling actually started in my childhood of wanting to truly be able to help other kids that had gone through what I went through as a child. And so essentially, I was raised by my great grandmother and my paternal great aunt. My mom, when I was growing up, she ended up being in the prison system for a little period of time. And my dad, he had a really strong alcohol and drug problem as well. And so a lot of, I guess my upbringing led me on this journey of wanting to be able to help others. And so it was definitely a struggle kind of, getting to this place, ran into a couple of roadblocks throughout my master's program, as well as ran into some legal trouble right after I graduated from Troy University and kind of navigating that to be able to get my license to practice. So it's been an up and down journey, but I think my passion kind of towards helping others just really come from the lack in what I had in my childhood and really just wanting to help other people navigate through that because like childhood trauma, childhood abandonment, that's some tough shit to navigate. So that's really kind of what led me to where I am. Another part of my journey is truly um being able to discover my sexuality and coming out as a lesbian in my early 20s and part of my college career. And then that really being a taboo thing at that particular time and navigating it growing up as a girl in the South and being raised in a Baptist church was like a really, really strong part of that. And so like navigating that was really, really difficult for me. But that also, again, drove my passion for serving the LGBTQIA plus community and really wanting to help people that were dealing with that. And so, like, a lot of how I show up as a therapist has to do with the things that I've gone through and really just wanting to see people not have to hurt and really having the support that I wish I had when I was a little bit younger.
Mm. Thank you for sharing that. And it sounds like there's so much wrapped up in this too. And I agree, like wholeheartedly. I always say that our niche, our ideal clients that we like to serve or support are versions of us. And
Mm,
we find this job and profession for a reason. And
right.
I agree, like trying to figure out ways to heal yourself through the work that you're doing as well simultaneously while also learning and growing and supporting communities that really need voices and faces who share similar identities. And I think it's so important, especially in the South, right? Like we're in the South, and
Yeah.
you said like it wasn't that accepted back then when you were 20, but like we're in 2023 and I don't necessarily
Right.
know if we've gone that far.
Yeah, I don't think we've gone that far either. I just remember what it felt like in my 20s going through it, hiding it. It wasn't, this is before the age of the internet really being what it is. And I don't know if that's a gift or a curse because back then, there was a lot of going back and forth on the internet and around LGBTQ populations and the church kind of tearing it down. And now you got all of this political stuff going on with, tearing down our community in that way. And then also, we all see what's going on with Florida and a lot of the stuff that's going on there. If you can't take an AP psychology class, like it's really disheartening. But I guess it's different because I feel like there are more resources now
Totally.
for the community, even though we're going back politically, definitely.
Yeah, we're going backwards big time. And it sounds like that is a motivating factor for you to show up and speak out and advocate and have a platform and share your voice and your story as well, though.
Yeah. It's definitely been a journey. I feel like, certain places, like I'm trying to get licensed right now in a different state. I don't want to put that out there right now because they might put my application on hold because
Sure,
of the
sure.
fact that I am very passionate about being able to serve the LGBT population in that state because don't say, hey, don't all of this stuff that's going on. So yeah, it definitely drives what I do because a lot of my clients, when they come to me, especially within the community, they don't feel safe. Like some of them tiptoe around even being able to share, hey, I'm curious. Hey, I really want to figure this thing out about myself because they always have had spaces where they were judged or they didn't feel safe. And even with me being very open about being a member of the community, it can still be hard for some people to open up.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that it speaks volumes for people to show up in spaces and advocacy spaces, especially, and share their story and their journey because that's advocacy at its purest form. And that really has like this massive ripple effect in the community. And then that still leads to people who are like tiptoeing or trepidatious because there still feels like there can be this fear or this inability to be safe, even in a therapeutic space. And that is really unfortunate. And it just speaks volumes of the work that we have to do and continue to do. So you have a podcast and it's very real, it's very authentic. It's all about sharing experiences and stories of things that you've struggled with and how it's kind of led to introspection and awareness and growth. Tell me a little bit about how that came to be and why that was really a passion for you and continues to be so.
Yeah. I think I wanted to just be able to reach more people. In therapy, we can only see so many people, like we're human. And so we're very limited in how we can show up. And so I wanted to be able to kind of start it from doing like YouTube videos, talking about the community, talking about different things. A lot of it was my personal journey, like me just talking about the stuff that I had worked through and really just wanting to humanize not only, us as therapists, but also just realizing that everybody goes through shit. And like a lot of where we are in the world is like this pretentious BS that you see on social media of everyone having it all together. And so I just wanted to create a space where I could be vulnerable and I could also have guests be vulnerable and share. I don't only, have professionals on there. I speak with real life people that are just going through stuff and really want to be able to help others. So I just feel it's important for us to not always look at the highlight reel, but really look at the fact that this shit is hard. Like we're all navigating it or whatever. And I feel like a lot of my clients, when they come to me, it's like, I have a client that always is saying like, my trusted adult. And I'm like, shit, if I am your trusted adult, like you got stuff going on because I have a trusted adult that I also see. So I just wanted out. Part of that is also normalizing going to therapy as a therapist. It's like we are human, we are flawed, and everybody needs to do the work.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And I think that I always talk about like relatability being accessibility. And I think that if you're able to share your own struggles, the things that you've gone through, the things that you continue to work through as a therapist, it normalizes the human experience because there's so much shame and stigma still in 2023 about
Mhm.
getting mental health care and looking for therapy and needing
Yeah.
support and wanting to talk about stuff because we still have this misconception that like I have to hold it all in all the time or I have to be strong all the time or if I go to therapy I'm fucked up and like I can't
Mhm.
openly admit that to the world. And the reality is like just what you said. We are human, we are flawed, we are all going through shit, especially now, right? Like it feels like everything is feeling intensified, I think, right now. And I just think that if
Right.
you're not examining this, if you're not openly talking about this, especially as a therapist, then you're kind of doing a disservice to your clients and your community.
Right. Yeah, I definitely see it that way because it's like even a lot of clients' idea of what therapy is. I had a client recently tell me, "Oh, well, I was having such a horrible day, and I had all of this stuff going on, and so I didn't want you to see me like that. I didn't want you to be. I didn't want to be this blubbering mess with you." And I was like, "Dude, like." That's what I'm here for. Like I
Right.
save my shit sometimes for my therapist. Alex will
Sure.
tell you, like, I come to therapy ready to let it all out. But sometimes, even in this space, people feel like I can't let you see me that vulnerable. I can't fall apart with you. And I feel like it's so important for people to know, like, that is the point of it all. The point of it all is being able to be open, be vulnerable, and just let it all out. We're there to help you. We're not there to judge you. We're not there to, tear you down. If you're feeling bad, that is the optimal time for you to go to therapy.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, my mind says like I default to thinking like when I go to therapy, if I'm in a bad place, this is the perfect time for it. What I really struggle with going to therapy is when I'm like, everything feels pretty good. And like, what do I have to talk about? And I'll tell my therapist that and kind of beat around the bush for like the first 10 minutes. And then all of a sudden we're talking about something really deep. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I didn't even think
Right.
about it this way. Now I'm unraveling here. Um, but it's so important. And you're right. Like, when people think I have to show up a certain way to therapy, I mean, I think that sends so many different messages, and it's unfortunate. Like we see that in society, we see that in portrayals of therapists in media, of like what therapy is, and there's still such a misconception about like what therapy offers, what it can do for you, and why it's so valuable. And it it takes a lot. It takes a therapist to show up authentically too, to help that
Mhm.
person really drop in and be okay with being vulnerable and really feel comfortable acknowledging that like I don't have it all together. Like I always share some of that stuff when I was seeing clients all the time. If they were really struggling to open up, to use some self
Mhm.
disclosure to help them acknowledge like it is okay to struggle. Like I struggle
Yeah.
too. And regardless of training and regardless of
Mhm.
experience, like life's still a life's, right? Like life is still happening and we still experience struggle and challenges. And it's absolutely okay to be open about that stuff. And I think, I don't know your perspective, I'd love to hear it, but I talk about the power of self-disclosure all the time with therapy
Mhm.
clients and coaching clients. And usually it's met and well received by the therapist community, but sometimes it's like self-disclosing is unethical and like this is something you
Ah,
shouldn't be doing and that's self-centered. And it's like, no, like if you're self-disclosing, it's got to be because it's for the client's benefit. Like it can't be for
right.
my benefit, but it can absolutely be beneficial to share with my clients like I had a gambling addiction. Like yeah,
Mm,
I know what it's like to be there. I know what it's like to experience A, B, and C, and here's how I got out of it. And I think that is
right.
so important for us to be able to acknowledge and showcase the fact that therapists are human.
Yeah. I mean, I'm definitely a fan of self-disclosure as long as it's appropriate
Right.
disclosure. With this person that I saw recently who was like, I don't want to, cry. I don't want you to see me like that. I had to have a very open moment of self-disclosure with them and really tell them like, yo, dude, like when I was in working in the hospital setting, I went through a really bad breakup and it was really hard for me. And all of my peers in the hospital, they would like see me and they'd ask, "Are you okay? Are you okay?" And it's like, I still got to go assess these damn clients. I still got to go in here and make sure that, ask the girl, are you suicidal? Are you homicidal? Are you seeing little green people? Like I still had to do my job because I had bills to pay. But I would go in that office after I saw clients, I would cry my eyes out and I would go to the bathroom, I would wash my face, I would get back in there and I would do what I need to do. And like my job performance was never impacted because luckily I am someone who has functional depression when I am depressed. But I do share that. Like my anxiety journey is something that I share with a lot of clients because a lot of people don't realize like shit, you're nervous during the first session. Hell, I'm nervous during the first session too. I don't know you either,
Right.
and it's kind of like I'm trying to calm myself down and get through this and make sure that we can build a rapport, but it's not all on me, but it's you're not alone in this. So just being honest with people, like it's okay to be nervous. It's okay to feel these things, but you have to realize we're just humans connecting. I know, that a lot of people feel like, oh, I should be this perfect, let me ask you these intake questions. But no, it's about the connection. It's
Right.
about building that rapport. Like, do not come to me with a checklist. But the disclosure is definitely beneficial to clients a lot because them seeing us as human helps them to connect more.
Yeah, it like helps navigate the power dynamic that is in place when there's a therapist client relationship. And it also helps, in my opinion, instill this like glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel, or this light at the end of the tunnel, when you can
Mhm.
say like, I struggle too. It's normal to feel overwhelmed, anxious, depressed, etc.
Exactly.
It's okay to have these emotions. Like, these are not bad emotions. These are not negative emotions. Like, we always, like, I think we paint this picture that like depression, anxiety, all these things are bad or negative, and in reality it's like, well, not really. This is a part of the human experience, and this is actually quite normal to feel anxious when you're establishing a new relationship with a new therapist and
Right.
sharing your story and being vulnerable. And like, there's nothing I hate more than like standardized clinical intake assessment of like,
Right.
tell me about this history, tell me about this history, tell me about this history. And I'm like, this is not
Yeah.
useful for me. Like, this is not helpful.
Yeah, it needs to be organic. Like clients don't want to feel like, oh, I'm checking boxes. Like, do whatever. We'll get to that stuff. We will. But usually, if you just let a client tell their story, they're going to tell you everything you need to know. They just need that space. And I think it is definitely important for them to feel validated. And it is normal to feel anxious. It is normal to feel depressed. Like half the population feels that way. And probably more than that. That's just what statistically reported. So, like, I think it's so important for us to make them understand, like, you're not by yourself in this.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. And I think also for marginalized groups of people, people who have been oppressed or discriminated against or feel different or othered, self disclosure is even more important. Self
Exactly.
disclosure can be life saving. Self disclosure can create instantaneous safety. So,
Mm.
if we're talking about people who are multiply marginalized, check multiple boxes, BIPOC, part of the LGBTQ community, etc., being able to self disclose and show up is actually creating a container for someone to
Yeah.
feel like, I can be safe here. I can feel seen. I can feel heard. I can feel validated. I don't have to explain things that I have to explain in other parts of my life. And that allows you to just drop in more easily. And the same thing for neurodivergent folks. Like, autistic ADHDers want to know that you know what it's like to go through
Right.
the day struggling with your executive functioning, or struggling socially, or feeling some sort of way in your body. Like, people don't want to have to re-explain this. And if you are able to share a little bit of your own struggle, it really does help create connection, rapport, and relationship. And our work is relational. I think we lose sight of that a lot of the time.
Yeah. I think a lot of people do. You get in the clinical part of it. And like, I didn't get into therapy or doing this because of the clinical aspect of it. Like, my undergrad career was in humanistic psychology. Like, the curriculum was in humanistic psychology. So you're dealing with Carl Rogers and all of that. And I mean, we don't have to get into theory, but a lot of that was really about the connection. And so I think that's always been deeply ingrained in me to develop that. And I mean, it influences everything that I do, not even just in the counseling room or whatever, but the connection piece. If you're doing it for the money or if you're doing it because, it just fits into my lifestyle or whatever, like you're missing out on really being able to effect change in people's lives. Cause like Roger said, in order for us to really be able to change within the client setting, we have to be open to the possibility of change within ourselves.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I agree with that 100%. I think what happens for therapists who are listening in private practice, especially, like, you have maybe the connection's just not there for whatever reason. It's not an ideal match from one side or the other. It's just not a good fit.
Mhm.
The rapport isn't there. The client terminates, the client goes to the therapist. The therapist then goes into a shame spiral of self
Mhm.
doubt and imposter syndrome of, I'm the worst therapist of all time and I don't know what I'm doing. I really encourage a lot of you to just like take a couple of breaths, a couple steps back, reevaluate the relationship. I bet it was probably just not the right fit. And that
Yeah.
fit and that rapport is so crucial. I know for myself as a client of therapy, if the therapist could be the best therapist in the world, but if the rapport isn't there, it's
Mhm.
more like just watching someone's mouth moving on the other side of the couch. And I'm like thinking about, all right, I'm not going to incorporate these strategies. I'm not going to use these
Mhm.
techniques. I'm not going to come back to this person after this appointment is done. And that really is the reality. So it
Yeah.
really goes back to just being human, being curious, and being open minded to the experience and just being relational in general.
Yeah. Definitely. My wife was telling me a couple of weeks ago about a therapist that she was seeing, and it was literally just, are you suicidal? Are you homicidal? Are you hearing voices? Like, and it was this checklist of things every time that she got on the call. And she was like, yeah, I'm gonna give it two more tries. I'm like, hell, I wouldn't have gave it one more try because if you I was like, you're better than me. Luckily, she has a new therapist she started with this week, so that's been good or whatever. And they actually were able to build a connection. But it's crucial. People do not want to talk to robots. They do not want to talk to someone that is just like, sitting there with their little shawl on, and no disrespect to people who wear those. But nobody wants to see someone that they can't relate to or they cannot connect with or whatever. Like my therapist, our connection has been what it has been because she was definitely human. She was flawed. She didn't try to put on airs with me. It was just very raw. And, she doesn't do a lot of self disclosure. I know absolutely nothing about her. If I'm being perfectly honest, but the connection, I've always felt safe in that space.
Right. That's so important, and I think that's such a good point that you just made. Like, it doesn't have to necessarily go it has nothing to do with the disclosure piece, even though we were just talking about that. It's just the ability to be human, the
Mhm.
ability to let your guard down and, like, nobody like you said, nobody wants a robotic therapist, and
Yeah.
I am really thankful that it seems like we are moving can't get this fucking mic right. Um, we are moving away from like the head nodding, how does it make you feel,
Mm.
sounding boards that don't show expression or personality. I think we're moving
Yeah.
away from that, and I'm really happy about that. I think that's important for our just the current generation of human being that exists. And I think that it's really, really important for there to be that ability to just be yourself, and that comes with like being okay with and comfortable with language, right? Like
Mhm.
I curse a lot. If I had a therapist who like made a face when I said fuck or said
Yeah.
it would make me then have to think about what I was going to say when I'm supposed to be using this space to be authentic, to be unfiltered, to really
Mhm.
be able to be okay with being me. And that may seem really simplistic, but that is really, really important. Being able to just be comfortable with language, being able to be comfortable in terms of how you show up. I think that is unbelievably important and it often gets overlooked because of someone else's discomfort. So if you look at our group practice website, there's
Mhm.
definitely the word fuck all over it. And on the homepage, it's like authentic human beings, no robotic head nodding. How does it make you feel? Therapists here.
Yeah.
Vulnerability is fucking scary, and that is okay. And my web
Mhm.
designer was like, I don't think you should put this on your website. I think it's going to turn people off. And I was like, actually, what I think is going to happen is it is going to turn some people off, but
Mhm.
we are going to get a lot of calls from people who are like, finally, I can be myself and I don't have to censor
Yeah.
myself. And that is actually what has happened for years. We get calls, we get texts specifically saying, like, I called you guys because of the language on your website. And
Mm.
when we're able to highlight relatability and humanness and personality in content creation, for those of you listening for more of the entrepreneurial side of the podcast, that's what clients are attracted to. Clients want to know that you can highlight like their experiences and that you're not going to shame them for being who they are. And that is how you attract the people who actually want to work with you. And I think that's really important to acknowledge as well.
Yeah. It definitely is because I would definitely be attracted to that website. I added a curse word on my website just to see if people return one cuss word though, Patrick. One.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, I think it is definitely important for people to feel comfortable. And I think it is equally important for us to continue to move away from this old, kind of dynamic within the therapy sessions because it doesn't work. It doesn't work for the current populations that we're serving. It doesn't even work for older populations, if we're being perfectly honest. I have some older clients that are just like, I just love that you're raw and you're honest with me and you don't sugarcoat anything.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's important for sure. And I'm glad to see the shift. And I think it also means that it's also about like openly speaking up when you feel safe enough to do so about your values of your practice, your values
Mhm.
that you have. If you support the LGBTQ community, if you support the neurodivergent community, the BIPOC community, like those are things to highlight on your website. Those are things to highlight in your personality and your profiles because people need to know that they're going to be safe enough to call you. People need to know that they're going to be able to see you in a safe environment. And I think that's also very important. So it's just a matter of like shifting the way we're thinking and really understanding that if we're in this work, it's relational. It's about being
Mhm.
curious. It's about being open. It's about being human and just being able to share with your clients that they don't have to have it all together because you don't have it all together. And that would be unreasonable to highlight or
Mhm.
share or showcase that like example or desire because that's not human. That's not normal. That's not a part of everyday life.
Right, right. I mean, I think that definitely the showcasing the community piece of like, I don't have to showcase that I'm Black.
Sure.
Obviously, people are, are probably going to connect with that if they're BIPOC. They may want
Yep.
to, see a BIPOC therapist or whatever. But the LGBTQ part is something that I kind of struggled with, honestly, when I first started actually doing private practice because I was like, I don't want to be put in this box of being the
Right.
gay therapist. And,
Sure.
like I really only disclose my sexuality in counseling with LGBTQIA plus. So like if I have someone that's curious, they may know that I'm LGBTQ friendly, but they don't know my actual sexuality because I feel like it can sometimes be distracting for people or, people may have their own agendas or whatever. So I'm really careful with how I share that information. But I do think it's important for people to just know like that it is safe, even if that is or whatever. I've had clients struggle with even telling me that they were curious because they didn't want to be judged by me because they were judged by everybody else. And it's like,
Right.
yeah, you don't have to worry about that shit here. Like, you're
Totally.
good. Just be
Yeah.
you.
I like that. Just be you. That's a good takeaway from this episode. And I think this is a good takeaway, not even just for the therapy room, but for your podcast, right? Like for your podcast audience, just be you, be yourself, highlight your personality. And this has a trickle down effect in all different sorts of areas. Like you're going to attract and repel people and audiences based on what you put out there, and that's okay.
Mhm.
And you're not going to be for everybody. But at the end of the day, just being able to be you, be yourself, highlight like your personality, share your quirkiness, share some of yourself. And I really do
Mhm.
think that that goes a long way in building relationships and building that know like trust factor that if you are a small business owner has to exist. And I know a lot of us who are in the mental health space did not get any small business training. So for those of you in like private practice, you're like, I think I have to do things this way and I have to show up this way and I have to say these things. I want you to just like kind of scrap that and just kind of embrace this authenticity piece of just saying like, it's okay for me to be a human being, both as a therapist and as a small business owner.
Yeah.
Any um, thing that you want to share with the audience as we're getting ready to wrap up? Anything that feels really important for you to put out into the world?
Yeah. I think you kind of wrapped it up pretty good with the whole BU piece of it. But, just for therapists that are, private practice owners that are listening, I do think it is just important for you to know your client base, know what it is that you hope to gain. I know I started out working with everyone and before I found my niche, and I think it's important to find your niche and really, strive to just be able to serve that population. It's not to say you turn away clients that don't fit that, but just knowing that you have your home base and what feels the best for you. And for clients out there, that may be listening or potential clients, just, you know, be yourself when you show up for therapy. It's not your job to be performative. It is your job to get the help, show up, do the work. And if the therapist is not a fit for you, just be honest about it, open about it. You may hurt or bruise a little egos, but it's okay. Therapy is not about the therapist. It's about you're getting what you need out of the relationship. So just be open and just be you.
Love it. Really love it. Yeah, I agree with everything you just said. Couldn't say it better myself. Do you want to share with the audience where they can find your podcast and find a little bit more about what you're doing?
Absolutely. So you can always connect with me by following me on all social media platforms under the handle Treaty LPC. You can also visit the uniquedestiny.org website, and also the Self-Aware and FF podcast is on all streaming platforms. So you can just look it up by just typing in Self-Aware and F up, and F is F asterisk asterisk KED. So, all the censorship out there, you got to be careful, but nevertheless,
How to get those loopholes. Um,
yes.
all of that information will be in the show notes so that you can easily find the Self-Aware and Fucked Up podcast. You can easily find any of uh, Sandtrice's social media handles. It will all be clickable links for you. So really good podcast. I was on it a couple weeks ago. I had a really good time and just really authentic, raw, and I think it's a really important message that you're putting out into the world. So thanks for coming on and making the time.
Well, thank you so much, Patrick. It was so a pleasure to speak with you again.
To everyone listening to the All Things Private Practice podcast, new episodes are out every single Saturday on all major platforms and YouTube. Like, download, subscribe, and share. Doubt yourself. Do it anyway. See you next week.